in almost every case, we have choices. In every interaction, we have options available for us. And how the other person responds makes some choices easier and others more difficult. At the same time, we have to understand that people do influence each other. And if we want deep relationships, we need to be aware on how we might be free or constraining the other, as well as how their actions also affect us. Remember, others can influence us, but they need not control us. Where these two concepts come together is around the issue of taking appropriate responsibility, not too much and not too little. There can be danger in taking no responsibility for the other's action. Supposing you've said you're on your own person and you shouldn't have been affected by my own comments, well, that's probably not true. Conversely, there can be a danger in taking too much responsibility, which would have happened if you've said, oh, it's all my fault. Okay. So it's either we become like the victim of the interaction, or we try to be dismissive about it, and we might not realize that we have become a tyrant in that relationship or interaction. Um, Remember, we have a choice and will always be affected by the other person. Okay? In the same way as the other person will also be affected by us. Okay? It's also worth noting that sometimes it is easier to share problems rather than successes that we want to celebrate. And we've noticed this in a lot of our interactions. Basically, if we really want to uh, avoid conflict or any difficulty in the interaction, we sort of have the tendency to celebrate successes, the happy stuff. But uh, you might be surprised that in order for a relationship to grow, sometimes it is much easier to share problems rather than the good things. Um, and, it can really make us feel a little bit vulnerable given that the other person will see us as too full of ourselves, right? If we think of just celebrating successes. Um, but being a good friend is also being willing to be an appreciative audience and being happy when things are going well rather than labeling you as a braggart or a humbug. Okay. Now, initially, many people share emotions that feel safer and are usually more superficial. That often prevents you from sharing the more important issues. And if you're really unable to go beyond what is safe and superficial, then those issues might crop up sooner than later. Remember, instead, you have to patiently surface what's really going on within you and with the other party and have that conversation. And part of taking responsibility is nothing different from really making the initiative, as we've said about self disclosure or trying to be empathetic towards the other person. It's really just raising the stakes. Okay? There's nothing different as far as activity goes. Okay? When we're talking about taking responsibility, it's really just a matter of us feeling that sense of gravity or that sense of obligation or duty to really make sure that if we really want the relationship to thrive, to grow, we have to take charge. We have to understand that we are the ones responsible for the relationship, and we can't always throw that responsibility to the other person only. We have a part to play, they have a part to play, both of you have a part to play. Now, it's oftentimes that where there will be some disagreements, and these disagreements can't be ironed out as quickly as possible. That can lead to conflict, and that can feel stressful in any interaction. But remember, whether we're just working in a contentious situation or it blows up as a conflict, even if it can feel stressful or dangerous, these things are still useful. Conflict can surface issues in a very direct way. Okay, initially you're just trying to navigate the landscape, the conversational landscape. You're not really sure where the landmines are, but you try to feel things out, try to identify emotions, taking responsibility of the situation. And yet, in spite of that, you have conflicts. Well, conflicts tend to surface issues quite directly. And it can bring out also emotions indicating what's really going on so that you know where the others stand. What's important is that amidst of all these things, okay, especially if you find yourselves in a very, very difficult situation, uh, sometimes it might feel easy, it might feel comfortable to shy away, not do anything, run away from the situation. Okay, that might solve some of our anxiety, some of our discomfort at short term. But rest assured, I'm sure it will not make any improvements in your relationship. So do take charge, do take responsibility in all of your interactions, especially if those interactions are quite contentious as well.